Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 6. And you are fifth chapter. Congratulations. This is the last chapter that you will write for your paper. You will still have to, of course, to go through revisions in the next couple weeks, and you've got other stuff to do, but you're at that last chapter now. So congratulations. Chapter 5 is going to be where you take the information from the other 4 chapters and you make recommendations, conclusions, and you discuss the material. So let's look at the 3 parts of chapter 5. Of course, at the very beginning, you want to say, give the reader some kind of an introduction. Chapter 5 will discuss the material or discuss the findings. In chapter 4, say it a little more detailed and eloquently. It will then propose, there will be conclusions proposed, and then recommendations for what should be done with the results from this study. So let's take a look at each of these in a little more detail. Discussion. In your discussion, what did you find? What do you think you found? Why do you think you found what you did? What does it mean? What did you expect to find but didn't? Why do you think that is? And how might the limitations of the research you use to test your hypotheses affect the results? Remember in chapter 3, you talked about limitations of the studies you were describing. So take a look at those limitations again and talk about how they might, those limitations of the research that you used to test your hypothesis in chapter 4 might have affected the results. Also, how do your findings support or fit with your theoretical framework? How does the theoretical framework you use to analyze the data, how does that, how did that work? How do your findings fit with other research? Go back to the literature review and take a look at that and see what were the trends and what are the most recent ones, and do your findings fit with the overall, the way that the science is going and the findings on your topic in general. Don't repeat other parts of your project, except maybe the hypothesis or hypotheses, okay? Remember that the reader has read those chapters. Continue to use third person, be thorough and thoughtful, and have some fun with this. This is your analysis. This is what being a sociologist is all about, making sure that you can take data and apply it, use it. This is how we can make, this is how we can use this data to make improvements or to fill in, to solve problems in society. Bottom line, what was learned? Stay focused on the original research question. Okay, this is all part of conclusions. What did you learn? Okay, not you personally, but what did the science learn? Stay focused on the original research question and hypotheses. Were there unintended consequences? Did you, or the original researchers, if you're referring back to studies in chapter 3, did you look for A and find B? And is B interesting? Is it important? What is the value of this research? How can the results be used? And then in your recommendations section, you want to address the following. First of all, assuming that these are appropriate, okay, you want to look at changes in practices. Is there something we are doing that we should do differently? So if you're studying the welfare system, if you're studying some aspect of healthcare or something like that, what should we be doing that we're not doing, and what are we doing that we shouldn't be doing? Look at changes in practices based on the research, not opinion, based on your research, okay? Also, should there be changes in policies? should we consider changing our laws, our rules, our regulations? Again, keep this in third person and make sure you refer directly to, are we talking about national laws in the United States? Are we talking about California law? That sort of thing. Be specific, okay, when you talk about what needs to change. And then look at future research. What should we be doing that we're not doing? What needs to happen in the future? Should the research you used be replicated? Should it be done again? Should it be updated? Should future research measure different factors or variables that you didn't, because of the limits of your project, have a chance to study? Should other aspects of the research be modified? So for instance, location, time frame, ages, and number of subjects, etc., that were used in the studies in Chapter 3. Does that limit everything? What could you propose needs to be done? So what needs to be done in future research? And what were the limits of your methodology? Okay? So those are the 3 sections of Chapter 5. Okay? They are, again, the discussion, the conclusions, and the recommendations. All right? As always, when you go through this chapter, you write Chapter 5, and your chapter, it can be Chapter 5, discussion, conclusions, and recommendations. That's perfectly fine. You want to say it like it is. And then, give a quick introduction that says, this chapter will, and, explain in a paragraph or 2 max what this chapter will do. Okay? And then you want your discussion, first part of this chapter after the introduction, to have a subhead. So you want it at level 2. See level 2 there. Okay, left aligned, boldface, uppercase, just the first letter of each large word. Little words, of course not. Just like the word uppercase there, and the word lowercase, so kind of like the title in a movie. All right, uppercase and lowercase heading. If you break that up further under any of those subheads, if you use additional subheads underneath those. So if you, for instance, you come up with your conclusions and you have 3 or 4 conclusions and you'd like to separate those out, you can jump to subheads and make sure they look like level 3. Okay, so it's like nesting dolls, one inside the other. That's kind of how they manifest in APA style. Okay, if you get stuck, let me know. So that's pretty much the last chapter, guys. So you are now ready to sit down and kind of start thinking through the conclusions based on all this research and work that you've been doing on the first 4 chapters. And now is when you actually apply what you've learned to where you would want to go next. What do you think should be done with this research material? If you have questions, please post your questions in the virtual office or email me. I'll be glad to talk with you. And as always, have a wonderful week, and thank you for watching this video.